Okay, so we're working on a 2016 Escape with a 2-liter engine in it. The customer's complaint is that it is overheating, so we're going to take a look, see what's going on here. There is our VIN tag for your task sheets, and you can currently see that she has 99,852 miles on her. And starting and running this thing, you can see we have considerable amount of smoke out the tailpipe. So she's not been running right, so we want to take the extra time to just kind of get a good feel of how this engine is operating and the damage that's done to it. So we're going to go ahead and start with pulling codes and just kind of seeing what this thing's got in the computer. So we'll initiate a self-test and see what kind of code she has, and then we'll go through a series of other tests to see if we can see a misfire before we go out under the hood.
No phone connected.
Okay, so you can see the only code we have in here is a P0217, which is let's find out what it says about it. It says that it is a coolant over temp condition. No other information available. So just to get a little bit more look at what's going on here, we're going to go and look at some mode 6 data in the OBD2 system and see if we can't just check to make sure this thing isn't hiding any misfires from us. And there's our mode 6 data, and see if I can get down here and see our misfire counts. And you can see, was that cylinder 2? Cylinder 2 has what, 66 misfire counts, so we probably got something going on in that cylinder. Whether it's eating coolant
No
or
phone
not,
connected.
we're not going to know. So let's go out under the hood and take a look see what's going on. But actually, before we do that, let's do a relative compression test on this thing. So to do the relative compression test, we're going to come back here to the toolbox, and we can choose relative compression test, and that's going to call us to hold the throttle at wide open throttle. And it's going to call us out to turn the key here in just a second. Okay, and we can see from our results that they're all in the green and they're all within, what, 1% of each other. So we don't have a compression problem. So let's go back to our toolbox up here.
No phone connected.
And let's go and let's choose power balance, just to see how this thing's running. And smell. Remember, we want to pay attention to our ears and our smells and everything about what's going on in the car. And I can smell that we're burning coolant. So we could see with the stuff going out the tailpipe that we were burning coolant. And she doesn't want to stay running for me real quick. And okay, now looks like cylinder 2 or cylinder 3 here is giving us a little bit of a problem. However, cylinder 2 is the one that had all the misfire counts. So remember, all this stuff is just tools. They're not definitive answers. So we're going to go ahead and find out what's going on with this engine. So So we can see that the coolant bottle is empty, or very low. So we need to see where that's going. And today we're going to pressure test this thing with a Snap-on SVT S272 and see if we can put pressure in the system and see if we can't see an external leak on this thing. So now we've hooked up the pressure gauge, pressure tester to the degas bottle, and we're just going to pump it up. And I'm going to give it about 15 psi. And we're going to watch the needle. We can see that the needle's been dropping here, so that we're losing coolant somewhere. So now we need to identify where that might be. So now we've been able to identify the fact that we have no external coolant leaks on this. In fact, we know we've got smoke coming out the tailpipe, and we can actually see some coolant going out the tailpipe. Now we need to be able to determine whether that coolant's actually going inside the cylinders. And we remember we had the misfire in cylinder 3, and we had misfire mode 6 data in cylinder 2, but it really wasn't like burning bad enough to where we really have a bad head gasket or what. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do a manual compression test on this thing, pull it apart, and see if we can't see and identify exactly where that coolant might be going. So I've taken the cowl off so we expose everything. We can easily get to the degas bottle here. And before we get carried away with doing any kind of compression test or anything like that, I want to do a block check. I want to be able to verify what is going on, whether we've got a blown head gasket, whether we're putting compression gas into the cooling system. So let me get the block checker and I'll show you what we're doing. We're going to die test this thing. You know, all we have here is a block tester, and this is just going to go into the degas bottle. We're going to fill it with this fluid, and what it does is if we have compression gases coming through here, this blue liquid is going to turn yellow on us. And I don't suspect that we're going to have that happen to us, but I could be wrong. So we're just going to fill that to the fill line. And my trusty assistant Jay is going to start the vehicle. Go ahead and start the vehicle, Jay. Engine's already hot. So rev it up a little bit. So we can verify that the color of this is still very blue. We do not have any compression gases feeding into our cooling system. So I'm confident that we don't have a blown head gasket or anything. That doesn't mean we don't have a cracked head and then we're putting coolant into the exhaust, or we got a crack going and putting coolant into the exhaust porch or something of that nature, or even a turbocharger that's gone bad. But that's what we need to investigate what's going on. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull these spark plugs out of 2 and 3. Those are the cylinders we knew we were having an issue with. We could be wrong. We want to keep these in proper order. So we have, you can see in here that there's no coolant on that spark plug. And we can see in here we have no coolant on that spark plug either. So we have coolant out the tailpipe, we have a misfire. We don't fail a block check, we have no coolant on the spark plugs. So then the question is, where did the coolant go and how is it getting burnt? How is it getting into the exhaust pipe if it's not going past the head gasket? So the reality of what's happening here is and what's likely happening, we won't know until we take it apart, but we've gone about as far as we can go on an intrusive test without doing a real intrusive test. And that would be that we have a crack more likely in an exhaust port going out the tailpipe. And why it's misfiring on those cylinders is because as the exhaust, remember that as we have valve overlap, as the exhaust is going out, some exhaust is can get pulled back in. You get pulsations in there, and when you have those pulsations, you're going to pull in some coolant. If you've got coolant in that exhaust port, you can pull coolant into that exhaust port or into that cylinder and kill that cylinder or cause it to underproduce and be a problem. So more than likely that's what's happening. Of course, we won't know that until we take it apart, but we have enough information in our hands now to intelligently, make an upsell to the customer with a certain level of confidence. But we need to take this head apart and then pressure check it from there. So probably as far as we can go with this demonstration here. Thanks.